Good evening. Welcome to Minority Caucus this Monday evening. Thank you for having us in your homes. Tonight, we want to discuss what we believe is literally a charter for basic education as delivered by the flag bearer, the New Patriotic Party, Atta-adoosi, in his speech on Wednesday the 13th at IPS. Nado is saying two things. One, that he intends to make basic education fee-free beyond where we are now, right up to SHS level. He then says a second thing now, that the exit point for basic education will be SHS. So in other words, in one stroke, he's moving our basic education system up to when you exit secondary school, literally swallowing the second cycle level down to basic level. That's a fundamental change. You see, years spent in school matters, but you also need quality, motivated teachers to make those years count. And therefore, to back these proposals, he wants to put the teacher first. A really motivated teacher, re-energized with an appropriate learning environment. Now, Nana also acknowledges the vexed issue of content. You could have many contact hours. You could have the best environment. But if what you are being taught is not useful, you can't get anywhere. And so, issues of what we actually teach our children matters to Nana. As we are all aware, in the 21st century, knowledge builds nations. Before I introduce my guests, a little controversial issue of whether elite policy making is leaving public schools behind, in a sense that people who can afford to pay for private schooling are the same people who make policy for public schools, and therefore the public schools appear neglected. And worse, probably the amount of investment required to bring public schools to a standard where they can hold their own may be so much that the elite policymakers simply may decide to hold the line and not move further forward. Nana doesn't accept the state of affairs. He insists he went to a public school, and from that public school, he was competitive internationally. And therefore, there is no reason why we can't bring our public schools back. And for your information, Nana was in Kimbu, in central Accra, a public school which still remains one. And from there, having had the privilege of going abroad, he says he was able to compete with those he met in the British schools. So the whole question of changing the face of basic education so that we do not dump young people with no skills on a job market that doesn't exist for them to fend for themselves. It is not right. So what do we do so that we produce a skilled workforce, basic minimum skills that can drag this nation from poverty to prosperity within two political generations of just about 10 years? With me tonight to discuss this basic charter, this charter for basic education, Honorable Professor Amaya Kofi, who is the MP for Techiman North. Yes, Prof, you're welcome. And you are described as an educator par excellence. You've been in education all your life. Yeah. Prof, listen to this quotation, and this is from Nana's speech delivered at IPS on the occasion of the handover of TESCOM branch and swearing in of new TESCOM executives. Now, Nana says, the 21st century world we live in is knowledge-based and technology-driven, requiring a solid grounding in literacy, numeracy, science and technology, logical thinking and problem-solving skills. underpaid teachers in overcrowded classrooms are not the way to progress towards a modern society. We must consider our teachers as the engine of education that will drive the youth in order for them in turn to drive the development of our nation. Prof, can we really say this public sector basic education system that we have has a qualitative future within this context?
Yeah, I thank you very much for inviting me here and so giving me this opportunity to help you discuss or help us discuss Nana's vision of education. Yeah, what Nana is doing is redefining basic education. You and I define basic education as, well, it used to be primary to JHS, now it's kindergarten all the way to JHS. Yeah. At the end of which the child will be about 14, 15 years. Looking at all the problems that come out of this system, what Nana is saying is, let's shift the goalposts. Let's redefine our basic education as that education beginning with kindergarten and ending with senior high school. At the end of which the child will be about 18, 19. And of course, we will be discussing the details. So, in Ghana, we'll be looking at our basic education as education from the kindergarten level up to senior high school. Sounds very complicated, but as the discussion goes on, you and I will appreciate the need for us to rethink that way. And let me also begin by giving you the logical steps in Nana's reasoning. You see, we've had BEC exams over the years since the 1987 and so on. And consistently, we've had not less than 50% of the products leaving the system at the end of JHS, unable to carry on.
That is the BC that sends you into JHS. Everybody from primary goes
into
through
SHS. BEC is at the end of JHS.
Okay.
Junior high school.
Okay.
And in moving on to senior high school, that is where we have a high attrition rate. Just this year, we had a total of 375,000 kids since the exam. Of this, about 53.7%, a little over half, did not have the opportunity to go on to senior high school.
Wow.
So we have only about 43%, 47% moving on. And last year, well, it was a little better. About 48% moved on, 52% couldn't. And the numbers are huge. I mean, 50% of the 375,000 we are talking about, 53% runs into close to 200,000 kids.
Yes.
Last year, we had about 186,000 kids who couldn't carry on to senior high school. So there we have a serious problem. The last point is, here is a contingent of kids who are young, who haven't had any skills training, cannot enter the world of work. They are 14, 15-year-olds, so what mental capacity do they have to even think of what to do next?
Prof, let's go back to this. You are saying that we take people to kindergarten.
Yeah.
Say 375,000 of them.
Yeah.
And run them through primary school up to
JHS.
The end of primary school, all of them go to JHS.
Yes.
None of them are failed.
No, they are not failed.
No examination.
All the small percentages of dropouts, but by the system, everybody should go on to JHS.
So technically, you arrived there with about 370,000.
Yeah, thereabouts.
More than half of whom then stopped there.
Stop there.
at 14, 15.
Yes.
So over 5 years, if you consistently 180,000, 200,000, then you are talking a million people who have passed through a non-existent school system.
That is a fact. Nobody can contest that. And you see, in addition to that, we also have, out of the 47% who succeed in getting placement, moving on to SHS, there are going to be those who come from poor parentage and therefore cannot be supported to go on to SHS. So the figure 200,000 may be slightly higher.
By people who have the brains but can't afford it.
And so if you look at this picture, clearly you have to sit back and start thinking of options left to us as a nation. And this is why Nana is saying, look, one, at the end of GHS, they are so young, the training is inadequate, even the knowledge base is so low. So why don't we make it possible for every child to have secondary education? So kindergarten to secondary education becomes our basic. Basic in the sense that everybody is going to have an opportunity to go that far.
Yes. Without limitations about finance, about where you come from, about access, and all that.
And when you were talking about the elite literally determining our programs and how we go, I can't help but agree with you. People of my age most probably went to the public school. Yeah, I'm not too sure whether you did.
Well, I started at Latibia Koshi.
Okay.
And then State Experimental in Kumasi.
But gradually, people like us have our children go to private schools.
Yes.
I remember there was this debate about languages. And when I was Minister of Education, I was insisting, look, let's take a look at this debate. The theory or the research done means that start the child in its own language so that understanding of everything will become clearer. I'm not contesting that. But the point I kept making is that let's also have some concentration on the English language. Why? Because that's the medium we use throughout the system. Then we have my colleague professors who refer to research articles and so on. And during one such debate, I was a bit blunt. I asked the professor, where do your kids attend school? In a private school where from day one, the meaning of an instruction is English. Yes. So the latest thing is quite real, but I think that Nana is saying the right thing. And he's saying that, look, if we have to turn the economy around, we need to have the manpower, the right kind of training, science, technology, and so on. And you can't operate, you can't go through that kind of transformation with ill-prepared manpower. Yeah. And so there's the thrust of Nana's thinking. And if you need to go through this kind of change, the central factor is the teacher.
Exactly. So on this point, Prof, I'll take our first break, and when we come back, we'll look at that central factor into some detail. Take our first break. Welcome back to Minority Caucus this Monday evening. We, in the studio with me, is Honorable Professor Mayor Kumfi, who is the MP for Techiman North constituency and has a long history in education, has run Ghana's GES as well before. But for tonight, he's looking at Nana establishing virtually a charter for basic education, a radical change from what we've known before, where he's proposing to absorb secondary education into the current level of basic education to make us literally wipe out that level, the intermediary level, into a point where every child will benefit from secondary education as a matter of course, and therefore come out from school at probably 18, 19, better basically prepared to meet the challenges of life. But before I go to Prof, let me run this teaser that I promised you. Last week I promised you a listening campaign. Today I want to give you a teaser, and then on Wednesday we'll enjoy the listening tour. Can we have the...
I want to know, Mama says when people come in power, it's going to establish a free education system for the society. And I want to know, please, Nana, how are you going to embark on this free education system? And all the same, the very senior high school is a new school, it's a big school. And look at our song law, contain almost 100 and about 1,000. Nana, this place does not seem to look at this as we want a great talk so that we can establish our policy. Because we don't have our song law, the policy says it's not true. It's a true. So, how's this?
The country is spending something like 5% of our GDP on education. We're going to double it and make it at least 10%, and that will take care of all those expenditures. And in the process, because our economy is also expanding, when we came to power in 2001, the value of Ghana's GDP was $3.9 billion. By the time Kufuor left power, it was $16 billion. It has now been reformulated, and we're told it's somewhere around $60 billion. So if you take the percentage of that as expenditure on education, you have the means to be able to finance secondary school education. It's a question of priority. If you think education is a priority, you back it up with the money. I think education is a priority, so we're going to back it up with the money.
Welcome back. Education speaks for itself. Don't worry, I'm excited about the listening tour, and I'm sure you will so that except. And it is about education. Very intelligent question there. Nana, you are promising us free education. How will you realize it? Look at our assembly hall. It's a pavilion with aluminium roofing, open-ended, and there are 1,000 students in this school. So what facilities can you give us? And the answer...
He's saying that can be done.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope we'll get a few minutes to discuss that.
Yes.
Expand on that.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, coming out of this discussion is the fact that one needs to put education at the top of our priority list. That's all that we need to do. Let's go back, post-independence. Nkrumah did, and there was, to me, the biggest push in education. All these education trust schools were built.
Yes.
Both certificates were issued to hurriedly prepared teachers who had to go to the classrooms. That massive expansion. That massive expansion, to me, is on record as having been phenomenal. And I'm yet to get economists work out how much of the GDP was pushed into that. Of course, we came to meet some money. The bulk of it was used. So secondary schools were littered all over the place. And we had that basic push to expand our educational system. Recently, in President Kufuor's time, basic education was made completely free. That's a constitutional mandate. And yeah, you see, when Nana is talking about doubling the 5% GDP to 10%. It is doable. In 2001, the GDP expenditure for education was 3.2. By the close of 2008, we had moved it to 7.3.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That was double.
We did. You know, so, and now we are back to 5%. And UNESCO stipulates that, or we've all agreed, that at least 6% of the GDP should be spent on education. We are not there yet. But again, if we think that it is a priority area, as the man is saying, there is no reason why we can't double it to 10. And the good thing about it is, initially, the infrastructure expansion is going to require most of the money. But when you put them up in a year, 2 years, 3 years, that is it. So in the subsequent years, you are not going to move up to that level. What you're going to be left with is to support the system. Have something for the teachers that we're going to talk about. Facilities will have to be improved. So it isn't something that we cannot do. Even rely on the orthodox materials which fetches money, cocoa, this and that. That is possible. We did it in President Kufuor's time by moving, as I said, maybe twice. Now, currently, we've been blessed with oil.
Yes.
Thanks again to Kufuor's administration, made the discovery in commercial quantities. Here we are with the oil. We have to sit down as a nation to see how much we're going to push into education. I argued on one platform that, look, the bill that we passed into law on revenues, oil revenue, says that a percentage is going to go into a heritage fund for the future. Norway had a similar fund. They call it Provident Fund. But yeah, when they set it up, it took, I think, 6 or 7 years for money to be put into that fund. Now, of course, that fund has grown into billions of dollars stuck aside. My argument is, if we have to make use of the Heritage Fund in a few years so as to put up the basic infrastructure, why not?
So invest the resources which would have gone into the Heritage Fund directly in education.
In education.
Or educational infrastructure, for that matter.
So what Nana is saying is quite practical. It can be done. You're going to have the skeptics who are going to say, there are other areas to be attended to. There are always going to be other areas to attend to. But the question is, if all of us think that we have to get education right, then we have to put money in it. So I think that it is possible. It takes bold leadership. It takes a committed nation to realize that what is happening to education is not good enough, not for an economy that we want to improve, not for the competitive world to which we all belong. So we have to take that bold step.
Teacher First. What exactly do we envisage with Teacher First? The incentives appear to be quite bulky. You are not going to make promises. You are looking at about a 200,000, and if you are going to enhance it right through basic level, right through to absorb secondary, then you are looking at doubling probably that figure of teachers.
Yeah, you know, I've been with teachers for a long time. And when I came to the GES, I came to see the numbers. And governments have always been frightened by the numbers.
Of teachers.
Of teachers.
Yes.
We shouldn't be frightened. Because you see, immediately you push yourself into that state. You say, oh, let me do something small for them. Because the number is huge. Now, if we keep thinking that way, the teacher's commitment is also going to be small. And the results we're going to get are the results that we've just run through. Massive failure or low performance at BEC.
The teacher will use his pupils as farm hands.
Exactly. I think here again, we need to look at that very, very critically. And I wouldn't be surprised if in pushing the percentage GDP to education, a good percentage of that goes to support the teacher scheme that Nana is talking about. We need to do that to get them committed, for them to love the job. You train teachers and some of them run off to get other jobs which pay well, even though they are professional teachers. Why? Because the pay is better in the other areas. So we have to look at that. And Nana, of course, goes through the areas of recruitment, retention, and then, of course, retraining. Now, with the recruitment, the hard fact is that there's a huge deficit. In 2000, we were thinking of 10,000, 11,000 shortfall. Now the figure stands at some 45,000.
Why?
In fact, I heard the quotation of about 60,000. That's because our teacher training colleges, and we have 38 of them, are producing, put it, 9,000. And you see, even working with that figure, if you give yourself 4 years, you will be adding, 5 years, you'll be adding about 45, right? But the hard truth is, not all of them go back into teaching, as we just discussed. Yeah, when I was the Minister of Education in 2002, I got GS to work out the deficit. And it was 11,000, 10,000, 11,000. I said, my goodness.
Per annum.
Per annum. That was the shortfall we needed.
Every year,
yes,
we needed another 10,000 teachers.
10,000. But you're going to keep them. So what I told myself was that, in 2 years, if I'm going to come by, at that time it was about 8,500. I was going to come out with 17,000. So I will be eliminating the deficit. It hasn't, well, of course, growth in number of schools, classrooms, and so on. But you see, because teachers are leaving the system, because the numbers being trained are inadequate, we continue to have this deficit. So we first have to do something about that. And Nana is saying that let's expand the training college. They are now colleges of education. So we're going to expand them. Make sure that all those professionals who've been trained are attracted back into the system. And even the non-professionals who sit out there can be given some short training sessions to make them professional teachers. So we have hordes of graduates who can find jobs. Let's get them together, give them some training, and provided the price is right, sure they will come back.
Prof, that's the argument that's often made, that if it's a second choice vocation, then there's no commitment, because a person doesn't set out to be a teacher. He happens to probably, let me use that word, not to have acquired access to the tertiary institution of choice, and so moves into a college of instruction for teachers. And then thereafter, we're now talking about bringing in people who have received instruction in other disciplines, who are unable to find jobs, to retrain them as teachers. So are we not killing motivation right from the beginning?
No. The content would have been taken care of. So what you need is the professional bit. So we used to have the diploma run along with other degrees in Cape Coast. The diploma is to take care of the professional aspect. And this is what I'm talking about. For you to succeed in doing that, the price will have to be right. If my mind is on joining SEPS and I can't get a place in SEPS, and I somehow get this new structure, which is saying, well, if you go to Cape Coast for, say, a year, or diploma, maybe you have a year, you're going to have a better pay, a pay which is higher than what I was going to get in SEPS. Yeah. I'll readily enroll to go for that professional training.
They will certainly go.
Yes. So in the area of recruitment, we have to do something about that. And also, when you come to retention, that's where the problem really is. The beginner is willing to make do with whatever comes along. The first pay is so much. But when they stay on the job for some time, then they say, hey, it's better elsewhere. So you have to do something to retain them. And first, you have to do something about the pay, emoluments.
Yeah.
Single spine, fine. We don't want to go into that.
The broken spine.
But I think it is about time we looked at a package for teachers. And even among teachers, there is the argument that if you want to push science and technology, then those teaching in science, mathematics, technology, may have to attract higher pay than those elsewhere. But on the average, a teacher should be receiving a lot more than he is receiving now.
Okay. Let me take these text messages. Pengelt July says, this is good. Keep the spirit alive and explain better issues for Ghanaians. And Prof. do little to listen. Robert Akwe says, let us know where your leader is going to get the money to make senior high free. He has promised, for it is very important. Nwubochi Bitemi Gideon says, this is great. Keep the flame on. 2012 is sure for Nana. Mr. Samoa, the 42 districts announced clearly shows how bankrupt the NDC government is. If not, how come the Volta region, which is not the largest region, has 6 new districts and others have 2, 3, and that goes against mathematical logic? Kwesi from Medina. Why should another minister handle another ministry in the absence of his minister? Does it mean that the deputy is incompetent? 2012 will decide. Gideon from Tamale. It is these same things about education that the NPP promised in the 2000 manifesto. We gave you 8 years, and what happened? That is T. Nana Addo should continue his listening tour to sell his programs and vision to Ghanaians because Mills Mahama government have failed we Ghanaians. We'll take our second break at this point. Welcome back. Prof, you are talking about retention and retraining, but many Ghanaians also worry about whether Nana can deliver free education. Can you tell us tonight, what is free education? Is it really free, basic education?
Yeah, people tend to forget that in our own constitution, Article 25 on education states that in Ghana, education shall be made progressively free.
Okay, there's a qualification there, progressively free.
And if we've moved up to basic, our current basic, a move made by Kufuor, then the next logical step will be the second cycle. We are praying that time will come when a good portion of tertiary education will also be supported by the state. So it's an area which has been overlooked in the past, but I do remember this very well because student leadership after student leadership kept pushing this statement at me when we came to debate cost sharing and that sort of thing. And I said, oh, of course, there is a proviso, funds permitting. And so if we can have a basis of saying that, look, we think that we can generate revenue to support this system, we will only be working to the mandate in the Constitution.
Okay.
Of course. And when we talk about free, what we mean is that these other expenses, especially with boarding education, will have to be looked at. You know that tuition is free.
Okay.
We don't pay for tuition. And this is why these students pay so little. Initially, when during my tenure, we absorbed most of these fees. A day student was paying something like 400,000 OCDs.
Right. That's 40 cedis today.
Yes. Now it has moved up a bit. But we have the boarding, we have lodging, we have Science Resource Center fee, we have library fee, we have entertainment fee, computer center fee, PTA fee, and so on. All these pulled together swell the fee paid by students, especially in the boarding. Now, which of these are so institution specific and which are general to be picked up by government?
Okay.
So that if it is X number of school clubs that you have to buy, I mean, that's an option. You have to, when you go to that school, you'll be told that here it is 3, in another place there's 1. So I don't think government should worry about that one.
Okay.
But for things like examination fee, the Science Resource Center fee, some support for feeding, I think that when a government moves in these directions, it will be making it possible for a larger number to have second cycle education.
So that clearly your parents would have to clothe you.
Yeah, exactly.
And give you some basic feeding.
Exactly.
And then the rest of it, government can look at. But then what happens then is that if you're in a boarding house, government will have to take a firm decision whether to pay for those facilities, for those. Otherwise, you create a situation where those in day schools
yes, exactly.
are disadvantaged.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't want to push too far in one direction, the boarding direction, so as to disadvantage those who are in day institutions.
Okay.
At least what you cover should apply to both to a large extent. Yes.
So now we
and that way the levels will come all the way down. We may come to a situation where those in day institutions, or if you decide to go today, you'll be paying very little. We've tried it before. I think it was in 2001 or 2002 when I was the minister, when we absorbed a number of these fees.
Okay. Very well. So at least we are now confident when we are asked what fee-free education is about, the basic things that it covers. So now I am comfortable enough to let you get back to training us, retraining us. And retaining us.
Retaining us. I said that the first one to tackle will be remuneration, the salary level. In spite of single spine, I think that if we think that the teacher is very important, I don't see why you can't have packages standing outside the single spine. For example, there is talk about allowances and so on. The teacher are going to go into the street again, talking about allowances. Are such allowances those that we can handle to make the teacher comfortable? For example, if you send teachers into the rural areas, giving them special packages to me would be in order.
Sense.
So Nana is thinking about rural allowance. I've seen a figure of about 20% of the person's salary being paid to him. Accelerated promotion when you are in rural area. As I said, science, maths, technology teachers may attract special considerations. So there are all these avenues, and Nana also talks about housing loan scheme. Why not? Yeah. Members of parliament get loans to buy vehicles. Government guarantees, and we pay during our tenure. We can do the same thing to the teacher.
So
but of course, yes, to do that effectively, the salary level will have to be appreciable. Otherwise, I mean, the deductions may take all of it. But when we improve the salary, it should be possible for us to have a scheme.
Prof, let me take this message. This one says, so fire out. This government is a failure. Only Nana can do it and do it better. Greetings to Prof. And it's a far from Techiman North. Prof, one of your constituents is happy with you. Leaders are elected to solve problems, not to explain problems. NDC under Mills Mahama administration should let us know one single thing they have solved. They should be aware that Ghanaians are wiser now and they cannot be deceived for the second term. Come 2012, Ghanaians will let you know your stand. Greedy bastards. from Ustaz in Boko. Can we have enough classrooms at the SHS and all GHS pupils? That's a Bota from Fiapre. Is asking whether we can beat the infrastructure gap. Nanado policy on education has amply justified he's a visionary leader. NDC and their nagging Prof. Mills are pessimistic. They are failures. That's Kusi from Ejisu Besiansi. Yow, let the greedy bastard NDC keep in mind that whatever shortfall we are feeling now is as a result of their 2.5 years mismanagement of government. Come 2013, inshallah, they will be in opposition from Ustaz in Boko. The NPP and Anado has nothing good for teachers. There is no way he can make SHS free. Stop deceiving us, Akufo-Addo. This is Livingston from Achim Swedru. Yow, Nana will be our next government in Ghana by 2012. God bless Nana. May the Almighty God of Israel open the knowledge of Nana the best man for 2012. Nana cannot be the president of Ghana, so he should stop deceiving us. That's anonymous. In fact, NPP is the greatest party with greatest personalities, with greatest ideas, with greatest issues, with the greatest analysts like Professor Ameyao. Free secondary education is possible with big brains like Nana. God bless NPP and Nanado, the next president of Ghana. That's Genesis from Krobo Dumasi. Nana's educational policy is wonderful, insightful, and forward-looking. We can't wait to see it. By Adama Amadou from Wa. Nana cannot be the president of Ghana, so he should stop deceiving us. This is from Pogas Sinanyako, or I think the same one, but this time with his name. Prof, by the education reforms, is it not every child who continues to SHS? Some go on to learn trades. BEC is both for certification and placement. That's me trying to clarify what happens to the dropouts. Yeah. God bless Nana. Nana, the best man for 2012 from Chris Odumase in Krobo. We'll take our last break. When we come back, we'll take the rest of your text messages and you can join us on the phone lines. Welcome back. Now, starting this November through to the end of the year, Multi-TV in conjunction with Gigatech brings you the Multi-TV Community Clinic. Bring your faulty boxes. The clinic just in front of Multi-TV, opposite Joy FM. The clinic will be open every Saturday in November and December. Come with your faulty boxes and get them fixed. If you have any issues with your Multi-TV, you can come over and get them resolved. You can also bring your own suggestions about the best way forward. For those of you who are not yet connected, it is a great time to get connected. Pick up your new Jiggy box at a fantastic offer of only 150 cedis. 150 cedis. Connect on these numbers: 0244 340 424, 0244 340 424, 026 234 9527, or 026 2959 599. And it's all on Multi-TV. Absolutely no monthly bills, just thrills. Immediately, you can call me on 0302 211 701 or 702, 0302 211 701 or 702. It's important. Education is about you. Your children are going out there. Are they being equipped to survive you? Or they are just being turned out so that they can continue to eat your food even when they are grown men? Prof, the other associated institutions, there was a question asked that the dropout rate is not just for dropout, that people actually go out into vocational institutions and training institutions as well.
Yes.
I already have a call from a shaman. Alasan.
Opaya, good evening.
Evening, sir.
Opaya, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and you?
My regards to my boss, Honorable Professor Ameyao Kofi.
Thank you.
I think that it is nice that you brought the experts into the minority caucus. These are some of the people that we need that, because they have been in the front. They understand the dynamics of what Nana Akufo-Addo is saying. I have a problem with people who are saying that Nana is just making a cheap propaganda. That is something that cannot be done. If you could remember, when people were saying that we were going to introduce the basic education, people were saying that it was something that is not going to be feasible. They were even making an argument. If you could remember, health insurance, when the bill was sent to Parliament, the then minority, they said the walkout, and they were even saying that we are not going to success. And if Nana Akufo-Addo is saying that, because you have people like Professor Amia Konfi, who have sat down and they do a cost analysis of and they understand very well that whatever be the case, we are going to implement it. So the people of this country, I'm appealing to you people that let's give Nana Akufo-Addo the chance and let him come and give us a 3-second cycle because it's something that is burden on parents in this country, and everybody is wishing that come what may 2012 if Nana Akufo-Addo comes, is going to implement it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. Abu Damongo. Yes, Abu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Yao and Prof.
Yes, sir.
I think today's topic is a very interesting topic that, as we always do, that is one of the deceitful programs that you have come about. Referring to your own manifesto, you have cataloged a lot of way forward in your manifesto, which you never achieved even a single one. For example, guaranteed access for all children of school-going age to quality education. Nothing. If you come to improving school supervision by further strengthening, there was nothing. Making sure that there was good infrastructure placed. But look, the better Ghana agenda of this particular government is on course. And let me tell you that this policy that Nana is championing today is a duplicate one of the NDC, because he has gone down and he has seen the massive infrastructure that the next hammer, as you have always recognized the vice president as a hard-working vice president. You have attached his name to the president. We thank you for not recognizing your own vice president. But they are doing very well, and everybody, the listening public, know what is happening. You come to my constituency, West Bonga, the Damongo constituency, and go to the interior places, and you will see the kind of infrastructure that has sprung all over, and that we are saying that the people see and they will judge for us.
Abu, thank you very much for your campaign spiel. Let's take Ibrahim. Ibrahim.
Yes. Uncle Yo, good evening.
Evening, sir.
Thanks very much for this program. And then I greet Prof too. We are behind you, and we pray very much for you and Nana to win the upcoming elections. But please, people give their trust to the Prof and the Prof, the one sitting on the chair now, and his people, and they have disappointed Ghanaians. So we are pleading with you that we are going to trust you with our faith and our votes. Come 2012, when you can, try hard and deliver. Because we know that with vision and then the will, we can actually achieve anything that we want to do. So we know Nana, we know his charisma and his brevity, and we know he can do it. So please, put your things right now that you are in opposition, so that as soon as you mount the throne, you know what you are doing. You know that you are actually coming to serve Ghanaians, so that we can have trust in governance. We are actually losing faith with governance. Ghanaians are losing faith in governance. If you come and you fail us, we will not vote again. We will stay out from the polls, and you know the consequences. Coup d'etat.
Thank you very much. Adam.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to contribute to the program. I wish to commend Professor Amia Konfi for his inside knowledge to share with us. But you see, things are very clear now, and everyone understands how the government is being run today. You see, the central men actually in the NDC is like they don't have the ability to explain or maybe to implement the policies they have. So we are looking forward to 2012 to get somebody that can implement the policies of the basic education for us to all understand and take us to where we want to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, the difference between having a policy laid out is at least you can plan and you know where you're going. But when you have a situation where all you are being told is about schools under trees, the number of which nobody really knows, and a failing school feeding system that was bequeathed to you, not to talk about school uniforms we haven't seen distributed, then we really lack a vision in basic education. This is nothing short of a radical change of basic education as we've known it, Prof. Are we right?
Yeah, I'm sorry we are running out of time. Maybe we need another session to go over this. issue. Because to me, education is key. And there are areas that we will have to explain further. But the two clarifications. One, somebody was saying that during MPP's tenure for 8 years, they didn't see any improvement in education, the enrollment, and so on. That's not true. Ghana happens to be one of the few countries in Africa that's close to achieving almost 100% enrollment at the basic level. And there was this big push when school feeding, capitation came on board. And there is not being done. Now, we're still grappling with quality, but this is where we think that if we can do something for the teacher, quality may also come. And then you have to improve on the textbook ratio and those kinds of things. Yeah.
But let me take these text messages. For a long time now, politicians use teachers to win elections, but after that, they are dumped. Is Nana actually serious with teachers? That's from Atta-adoosi, Anthony Gemini. Yao, males should be blamed. Consider the comments of insufficient classrooms for GHS to SHS, and Nana will definitely win come 2012, inshallah, from Abdul Rahman Atechiman. Nana is going to win. That's Dagara in Kwanta, Volta region. Like father, like son. The health minister must be sacked. Nana, you are our last hope. From R.Y. Mahama, Wa West District. Education in Ghana is now too expensive under this Mills government. And we, the Northerners, are finding it very difficult in paying our war school fees. Agaraz in Bembila. Nana, don't mess up our educational system for us and send your children abroad. That's from ZZ in Bembila. Ankra from Wolensi says, Nana, all the way, we made a mistake for not voting our parliamentary candidate, Ogaja. The people of Wolensi are waiting for you come 2012. From Ebenezer in Ofanko, it is only the members of the MPP who are having the third eye to see negative investment in the education sector. 2012 is for Mills and the NDC. What really are the causes of all these bad performances from our kids? Is it teachers, parents, or the kids themselves? In fact, something must be done. From Bedu to 4, Albert in Kasem in BA. Niashi from Accra, yes, Nana can do it. Victory for 2012. Nana should stop throwing dust into the eyes of teachers. MPP is the unserious party that Ghana has ever seen. If they couldn't do all the magic they wanted to do in education in 8 years now, can these same people want President Mills to do everything in 4 years? Ask him how many schools did they build when they increased SSS to 4 years. They're always talking about oil money as if Ghana is having $1 billion annually from the oil. They should stop the bragging. Ghanaians are well awake to do possibilities from mere big talks. That's Kek in Second D, is the oil region. Prof, continue the good work for MPP. Prince Ali from Kintampo. NDC is National Disorganized Congress. Mr. Yao, if you do not suffer to get something, you mess it up. Atta Mills was appointed by JJ. That is why he is messing up. Mad Dog has been cleared. Mr. Yao, I agree with the prof that we need to train teachers to love the noble profession. Some packages should be put in place to attract teachers. That is why we must give Nanado the chance. Why? To make the teacher first, since Mills administration failed the ordinary teacher. That's Malik from BP. What will the MPP be doing the 4 years after making education free? Don't deceive us with this, free, that. And that's Albert from Boko. We are asking you to get engaged. This is nothing short of fundamental. That's why we are saying it's a charter for basic education. What your children become determines what this nation will become. Nana says that he believes we can educate ourselves out of poverty, and his government will be committed to it. What about you? Get engaged. It's been Minority Caucus. Good night.